Live. Go to Tracy Brown Live. Go to Tracy Brown Live. Gals and guys, go to Tracy Brown Live. Go to Tracy Brown Live. Go to Tracy Brown Live. Gals and guys, go to Tracy Brown Live. Go to Tracy Brown Live. Go to Tracy Brown Live. Gals and guys, go to Tracy Brown Live. Go to Tracy Brown Live. Go to Tracy Brown Live. Gals and guys, go to Tracy Brown Live. Go to Tracy Brown Live. Go to Tracy Brown Live. Gals and guys, go to Tracy Brown Live. Go to Tracy Brown Live. Go to Tracy Brown Live. Gals and guys, go to Tracy Brown Live. Go to Tracy Brown Live. Go to Tracy Brown Live. Gals and guys, go to Tracy Brown Live. Go to Tracy Brown Live. Go to Tracy Brown Live.
Hi, everyone. Good health. How's everyone doing today? We have an issue because I was not allowed to stream on Twitter X this morning, and I'm wondering if it's because of the problem that we had last night. Twitter X has decided that if I wanted to stream, it would cost me money. So I don't even know what a premium Twitter X account looks like. But apparently, premium Twitter X account. But apparently, if I want to stream, I have to pay for it. And I'm not down for that. Like, Twitter is not that important to me. So if anybody I don't know how many subscribers I have. In any case, I really think Twitter X is taking advantage of last night's situation. That's what I think. And so here we are. Profile. Let me see. Profile. X Premium. Oh my God. Basic plan is $4. Then there's an $11, a $22, and no, I really don't care. It's fine. Life is too short for this bullshit from this fucking man. Hold on, guys. I woke up in a really good mood, and then I go to set my computer to include Twitter X, which you guys don't know, like who I put to hear my podcast, but I include Twitter. And you know what? It is what it is. I do have a following on Twitter that does follow, my every word. So I'm just going to have to teach them to come over to the YouTube or Facebook or something. I don't know. I know that Elon Musk did this because of what happened last night. I know he did that. Like, this man is Elon Musk is so greedy. Like, this is not necessary. But you know, cash cow that he is, he found an opportunity to increase his revenue because, in a weird kind of way, he is kind of broke. So he is yet to pay himself back for buying Twitter X. So it is what it is. Let me stop talking about Elon Musk because he is not my favorite person. And let me say hello to Lisa. Hi, Lisa. Hi, sweetie. Hi, Purple Passion. Good health and happiness to all. Hi. Okay, I didn't put the page on. The page is, yeah, profit. I'll just leave it for now. The page is 141, if anybody is keeping up. And we're almost done with the healing, gifted in physical healing, um, which you guys know is probably my favorite part of this book. Hold on, guys. And the next part of this chapter is going to be expelling negative, what? Expelling negative spirits. Expelling negative spirits, because that's going to be a really important chapter to invest in. All right, let's get our party started here. Jenny Benson, the Lord said, you are going to heal. She was a teenager when Reverend F.A. Jones, an evangelist, went to her home to talk to her. Talk to her. The Lord told me to tell you, Jenny, that you can't do like other girls, that you are born for a purpose and He wants to use you. Hold on a second. Let me just do this. And let's do this. There you go. That He wants to use you, that you are born for a purpose. During her young teen years, Jenny moved to Jackson from her home in rural Mississippi and then to Memphis. Her next move was to Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, where she fell ill and was hospitalized. I'll never forget my chart number, D3925. One day the doctor came to pick up my chart and says, I don't know what's keeping you here. A strong constitution. You are dead, but you haven't quit breathing. She wasn't even well the day she was discharged from the hospital. On the way home, the Lord spoke to her. You're going to heal my sick, and you're going to prophesy my name. When you promise me all these things, I will let you up. The Lord let me up, and I started preaching. When I first started out, I was 14. There was something about you when God calls you. You can study all you want, but when you get up to speak, it all goes except for what God wants you to say, she states. That's very true. I don't know if anybody ever noticed that. Have you ever had a situation where you're like, I don't know what to say? And then, but it's kind of like you have to say something. I don't know what kind of scenario that could be for you, but I know I wind up in that situation a lot where I'm like, I have nothing to say today. And then the words just come flowing out, which is so beautiful. The beautiful concept to trust that if you speak, you will say the right words. But when you get up to speak, it all goes except for, let me see, it all goes except for what God wants you to say. At 18, she moved to Cleveland, prompted a divine direction to heal alcoholics and drug addicts. When I moved to Cleveland, I had $35 in my pocket and no friends. I was in Cleveland about 3 months and I was already conducting a service. God moves so. Jenny's mother would go miles to hear Georgiana, her adopted daughter, sing, but she refused to go hear Jenny preach. Jenny's mother would go miles to hear Georgiana, her adopted daughter, sing, but she refused to go hear Jenny preach. The adopted daughter had a health problem. She would eat and food would come back up. She would break out in large perspiration. God came to my mother in her sleep one night and said, I'm going to heal your daughter, Georgiana, but I'm going to heal her through your daughter, Jenny. On a designated Sunday night, Jenny's sister attended service. Call your sister up, the Lord told Jenny. I'm going to heal her now. As she walked up, I said, in the name of Jesus, be thou healed. She fell to the floor and she hasn't been sick since that day. God knows all this is true. I wouldn't have said it if it weren't true. Jenny Benson Vaughn founded the St. Teresa Holiness Science Church in Nashville in 1979 with her husband, Frank, also a minister. It was not the first church she had set up. Several years earlier, she had established a church in Cleveland, Ohio. She is known for helping those lacking economic resources in the company, in the community. In healing, she stretches out her hand or touches the troubled person, saying, be healed in the name of Jesus. Jenny affirms with determination, I will continue to heal the sick. We give the needy clothing, we give them food, and when they come by and ask for it, we give them food when they come by and ask for it. Over the last 10 or 12 years, I don't pay attention to what people say. All I know is what God says. That's what counts. Let me see something. Hold on. All right. I had something to say, but I didn't mark it. And so, where is the marker? I had the marker. Oh, it fell. Okay. Doing the best I can, everyone. Oh, I gotta be careful. My leg still hurts from the fall from it was a week ago, last Sunday. Next story. The graceful exactness of Tarita's hand motions trace back to an old science. Its origin is Egyptian. She is aware of a deity working through her. An inner voice instructs her how to work with each person. Dietary information included in readings flows from both her intuitive and technical knowledge. Dorita McGill works to reclaim physical health through the agency of her hands. Healing starts, then accelerates. The energy an individual has dissolved from the world dissolves as she moves from as she dissolves. She moves her hand over and near the body, assisting people in contacting with the line their higher selves. She enables mending between the physical and the spiritual and the restoration of well being. Recently, Teresa learned that the instinctively developed hand movement she has used for years in her spiritual and physical healing work are known as mudras. Does anyone know about mudras? I need to give a class on mudras. My my group that is starting today with Jason D. McKean, it's one of the things that I am introducing to. Why is this happening? It's one of the things I am introducing to the group, mudras, um, chakras. Um, Let me see if I can give you guys an example of a mudra. Mudra. Hold on, guys. Maybe just. Oh, this is perfect. This is absolutely perfect. But I'm going to hold off on showing you guys. But this is. Let me send this to Jason. This is perfect. Jason! Jason! Let me see. Jason. No, 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 no. All right, let me just take a copy of it. Send it to him so I don't forget it. Mm-mm-mm-mm-mm-mm. And let me show you guys an example. Not so many. There's so many. Just want one. Do you guys know mudras at all? Hold on. It's hand movements to help facilitate an activity that you need. Oh, here's a good one. Here's a great one. Mudras can be used like effectively, especially if you're upset. Airdrop. Tracy's laptop. All right. Oh, it just says mudras now? Oh, interesting. All right. Let me just get over here. Boom, boom, boom. I know I wasn't going to see it. Boom, boom, boom. I knew I was not going to see it. Is this it? Nope. This? Nope. This? Nope. I knew I wasn't going to see it. I don't know why I was thinking I was going to be able to see it. Let me see something download. Here it is. Here it is. It's just his mudras. Let me see something. Oh, that's why I didn't. Silly me. Show mudras. No. God damn it. Let me see if I can find it. Uh, this might be it. Nope. Uh, so annoying. Oh, here you go. Open. When you go from iPad to your phone to your computer, all different things show up. Like, you don't get the same buttons to press, so you have to figure out your computer, which is different than your phone. This is a mudra. One of many. This one is for letting go of something. Notice how this mudra points to the ground. Let it go. Put it in the ground. All right. This is something that I will be teaching um, next week along with the chakras. All right. And I will be teaching this in the class that Jason and I are doing together. Jason D. McKean and Tracy Brown presents. The spiritual mentoring program starts today at 3 p.m. It is not too late to join. Don't think it's too late. It's not too late to join. We have a good size amount of people coming. So I'm very proud of everyone that has decided to take an investment in some spiritual growth. And most people are already spiritual. They just want to, have more of it. Or they want to be around people who have the same like mind as they have, right? This joining doesn't allow you to feel alone anymore. So it's going to be nice to be a part of a group that, one, you can learn from each other, have two teachers that are passionate about the spiritual growth of you, because we're passionate about the spiritual growth in ourselves. Jason and I both. Um, don't be surprised, as teachers, we're going to be learning from you too. That's the best part about the spirituality of all of this. Like, I would be afraid to have a teacher that knew it all. I would want to have a teacher that could be flexible. And so if someone says something as a teacher, I can go, did not know that. We'll research that more. And I'm fascinated to know more, because the person that is taking the class from me gave me something that I needed to know, right? I am not inside my ego, never was, never will be. Um, so it's not too late to join. Come join us. We'll be so happy to uh, have you share with like-minded people, which is what this is really about. Okay, so I'm over myself. This is called mudras. All right. Jason is teaching the class today, and it's going to be a really good class. Oh, it's a really good class about spirituality. I'm going to love it. All right. And the way we decided to set up the class is we're each going to take a month. We meet once a month. And even as a teacher, I will be Jason's student today. Participating, of course, yet absorbing Jason's way of communicating. So it's going to be good. It's going to be good. So come join us. All right. She has done healing through the work known as mudras. The information was conveyed to her by an Indian yogi observer, constituting a sign language in Hindu and Buddhist religion traditions. Mudras are mystical poses of the hand or hands used in worship, yoga, iconography, States of awareness and psychic energy levels are influenced by these mudras. I prayed one morning when I was going through a lot of stuff about what it was I was doing. This old man called right after I had done this prayer. He said, "What you have is so old that you can't go around and try to chuck it down everyone's throat. What you're going to have is patience. Something just told me to call and tell you that." A native California, Tarita lives in San Francisco Bay Area. I played nurse when I was a child. My parents always wanted me to play the piano. And I played classical piano for 17 years. But in college, science became my major and music my minor. Tarita has taken different roles in healing. At 5, her abilities were already evident. Her first effort brought family members relief from pain and tension through massage. She saw colors radiating from people. And there was too the sound of inner voices, which at times seemed the host of varied instruments offering comfort and counseling to this little girl, although Tarita's mother accepted her daughter's hand to soothe an arthritic condition. She firmly discouraged the child's talk of colors and disembodied voices. The psychic aspect of her daughter's personality, the mother tried to arrest by pushing her toward aesthetic activities where she showed talent, such as with piano, ballet, and violin. While working in hospitals after completing nursing school, Tarita perceived traditional medicine, medical technology did not allow her the physical, spiritual healing process needed by the sick. She sensed that the suppression and removal of diseased body parts did not lead to a stable recovery. She realized her spiritual self was attending into the patient's spaces, blending with them as she worked to assist them. Telepathic exchanges occurred between her and patients with their emotions and pains being absorbed by her. I became a nurse when I was 21. I walked into a man's room and felt the medication on my body. He was getting medication in his right eye, and I could feel it in my left. I was mirroring people, and that got to be a bit deep. I could wheel people from surgery and feel their body parts. When you remove a part that is diseased, it does not cure the situation. If you have had one operation, they have to have several. They have to keep removing body parts which have been affected. That made me realize too how ignorant people are in their understanding of what medicine is. The intuitive have been happening for years. I didn't know I was doing it. People told me. A friend once says, "You psychic thing, you." It turned out I was actually reading them. I didn't know what he was talking about. I was just being me. She concludes, "You cannot deal with this world unless you know who you are." Interesting. Where's my marker? Why do I keep losing this damn thing? Interesting. You cannot deal with this world unless you know who you are. Hmm. That's a profound statement because I think most of us are here not knowing who we are. And then I think most of us don't know how to get to a space of knowing who we are. I don't think the tools are here to help us to know who we are. But those that know who they are kind of cocky, right? A mathematician, a scientist, an archaeologist, right? They're kind of cocky in their job description because at some point they align themselves with knowing who you are. Nurses, not necessarily. It's different there's two ways of becoming a nurse. One is because it is your desire. You've been doing it since 5 years old. or it is a fast track to money, home, cars, right? And it doesn't necessarily mean that you know who you are. So you're a nurse or a doctor, and you're doing things for the accolades. And trust me, if that's your end goal, you will get it. You will be very proud of yourself as a doctor or a nurse, right? But if you're a doctor that is truly trying to cure heart disease, and you're a normal doctor, but you're beginning to see a pattern in your heart patients, and you begin to realize that most heart patients create stress, which aggravates the heart. And so you then say to the patient, I need you to take yoga, to hike, to meditate, right? Because you have stress, and I need you to lower your stress level. And then you follow through with that patient to make sure that they've incorporated something that reduces their stress. That's someone that knows who they are, why they're here, that cares about the patient beyond what the insurance pays, or um, how you look out in society. Like, I get to say I'm a doctor, right? Cherie Whitfield is going through that right now, right? She wants to brag that she's a doctor, she's got her doctorate. Like, no, you got a correspondence doctorate degree, but which is fine, totally fine. But are you using what you got to work to heal others? No, that's not Cherie Whitfield. That's not what's happening, right? She brags, has blonde hair showing through, and a robe and cap on. I'm a doctor. Okay, like, I'm cool. Do you know who you are, Cherie? You see the difference? As opposed to a doctor that says you're stressed, and that's why you're giving yourself heart issues. And come back next month so I could tell you that you're stressed again, right? There, two types of doctors. One that knows who they are and why they're here, and who are they saving. Well, maybe he'll never get that answer, but cares enough to get them to understand that you have to reduce this stress. So let's talk about what's going on. Let's try and reduce it this way, because that is saving a life, not going under the knife. Going under the knife is the first part. The second part is the mental health, the psychological health. So you cannot deal with this world unless you know who you are. That is so profound, because I'm really curious who knows who they are, right? And when you're younger, you try to be who you are. But what does your parents do? Yeah, no, no. You're going to be a nurse, sweetie. You're like, no, mom, I just want to dance. Yeah, I just want to be an actor. Yeah, be a nurse first, period. And then look at acting. But you go through nursing school, the money goes up to $50,000. You got to start working. You got to pay back the student loan. Now you're working around people, and this person just bought a car, and this person just bought a house, and now you're buying a car, and you're buying a house, and you're paying off a $50,000 loan for the next 40 years. Why do I know people that have a loan and they are in their 50s? A student loan. makes no sense to me. Doesn't really matter. I don't want to get off on a tangent. My point to you is, how do you know who you are? Because sometimes we forget on the way. So let's come back to remembering that part of us. I don't know what that, you want to be a doll maker? Like, find you in the midst of being someone else for someone else. Find you. Start over. I did not say quit your job. I said start over, because you're missing the happiness and the basic care and need of who you are. Medical procedures she saw physically smothered or severed the patient's signals of distress from the diseased area. But the signal still flashed on a spiritual level unheeded. Tarita came to regard these as missing information. She laid aside her career in nursing when she concluded she could not use traditional medicine as means to assist in healing. Its techniques did not align with her perception that both the physical and the spiritual had to be addressed for healing to take place. I use my hands. My hands tell a story. I clear the energy people absorb from the world and put them in touch with their higher being. That's the physical thing I do. That's the mending that takes place between their body and spirit. My sister almost had a hysterectomy at 21. I told her what to do. Her doctor said she was probably too scarred to have a child. She was pregnant 2 months later. She had a son, a Scorpio. I've done this with two women whom doctors told they were not going to have babies. I've done that too, by the way. Not in a healing kind of way. I don't know if I can say it that way. But I've gotten readings with three women. All three said they had endometriosis or whatever conditions. And I'd look at the cards and I would say, no, no, you will have a baby. Now, whether my words of affirmation help change this physical, structural in their, like, what if they were going to doctors? Just what if? I don't know. That was, these were black women that was purposely telling black women, nope, you'll never have a baby. Nope, nope, nope. Do you know that you could believe that after a while? You will just believe that you cannot have a baby. There's this doctor, Emoto. I don't know if Emoto is his first name or last name, uh, but he's a doctor that's studied water. His name is his name is Masaru Emoto, and he studied water, and he taught people that if you go to a lake and sing to a dirty lake, you can make the lake clear. And he did it, and he proved it. And then I don't know if it was him or somebody else. I can't really say if this was his technique, but he took a glass of water in a jar with the lid, and he took another glass of water in a jar with a lid, and one jar he would say the nicest things to, just amazing things. You're so beautiful. You're so pretty. I love you. You are amazing, water. You are amazing. And then he would do this every day, I think for like 3, 6 months, something like that. And then he would take the other jar and he would talk disgusting things to it. I hate you. You are the worst. Why are you here? You're disgusting, right? So that was one type of method. Another type of method that he used, he had different methods. Another type of method, he would play classical music for one and hard, really pounding rock for another. And then he would look at it under a microscope. And the one that he talked nice to or played classical music to, the crystals were like little beautiful clear snowflakes under a microscope, just thriving, because what is water? Water is a living organism. And the ones that he did not speak well of, played awful, awful music. Um, it was dark, but the jar was physically dark. The cells were dark. They were also distorted cells, whereas the one that had nice music had a very uh, equilibrium of was it not geometry? Is it geometry when something's like perfect um, in its spirit? But the one that he talked me to was distorted. The color wasn't clear, and he kind of proved something, right? Because water's a living organism, right? So he kind of proved that, like, let's say we're talking about children, like how you speak to children reflects their healing, their personal outlook in healing in life. So, what if, doctors were telling, because they didn't care, right? We know now that doctors didn't care about Black women, but what if that was just a thing? It's like, nope, you're never gonna have a child. Nope, 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 nope. And then you begin to believe it. And what does your body do? Your body says, you believe the doctor more than you believe in divine God. So we're shutting down. If you don't believe you can have children, then you won't. My mom miscarried her first child, and the doctor told my mom, you will never have children. And she came home crying, just in tears. And my dad said to her, he didn't test me. And that made such a difference in my mom's life, because she went on to have 5 more children. It made a huge difference in my mom's life. Like, my dad got inside of her before the belief got inside of her. And I've had 3 clients where they're like, I have this, it's a common Black uh, female problem. It's like endometriosis, but it's something else. I just can't remember. And I would do and I says, no, I see a baby coming through. At least a baby. Two people, one has had 2 children, another has had 3 children. 3. Because guess who the real authority is? You. You are the real authority as to whether or not you can have a baby. If you decide to have a baby, you're going to have a baby. I promise you. But that's if you really want it. Now, I do have clients that cry out loud about having babies. They don't want babies, they want a man, because they'll say it. I want to be married first. And I'm like, you are 42. Maybe make a different decision, because you're waiting for this man. Then you got to get to know the man. That could be another year out. Then you then you have to convince this man that you want a baby. And what if he already has grown children? Like, do you want a baby or not? And I've had my clients, many of them have told me, I want to be married first. And I said, okay, I don't finish it, but surely you never wanted a baby. Because your mind is on a different ultimate goal. At 26, Tarita began a search for greater understanding on how to use her healing gifts. Buddhism, metaphysical training advanced her awareness, providing orientation. The gifts already presented became stronger and defined. Through her voice, vision, and the healing power in her hands, she established her way to help. It is indeed an old science. I have seen things numerically, astrologically, physiologically, not anatomically, that relate to what truth is. Tarita does not confine her service to healing. She is a poet, a spiritual reader, and an astrologer. At local colleges, she talks on spiritual healing and psychic ability within the African American culture. She reads her poetry in elementary schools to arouse within African American children, especially an interest in becoming aware of themselves. Notice that she talks to African American children in becoming aware of themselves and in learning to be harmonious within the self. I like that. That's a great concept. Ooh, look at that. She has found that many African American children did not like their skin color. This is a very old book, so that's no longer the case anymore. After one presentation, Tarita received from one child a letter which read, "Thank you for telling me I am love." Ah, break my heart, why don't you? This is so sweet. All right, let me say hi to everyone. Haven't been able to say hi since the beginning. I'm going to go backwards. Polycystic ovary syndrome, PCOS. Thank you, Angela. I could not think of it. PCOS. Yes, many Black women have PCOS and are led to believe they cannot have children. All three of the people that I had all had PCOS, all of them. And if you get inside their mind fast enough, before the negative belief takes in, you can have children. Now, if you really, really want to have children and you really, really can't, you could be like Viola Davis and you could adopt if you really want to. Like, there's a way to do this if you really wanted to, right? If you really, really want to have children and you really believe that your body cannot, you could save up for a surrogate if you really, really want to. There's a way to really, really do this. Really, really, really. I remember years ago, I wanted to be a foster parent. I set out to get a 2-bedroom apartment on purpose. I took the training to become a foster parent on purpose with Catholic Charities in Los Angeles. Loved the experience, loved what I was about to go into. My grandmother was a foster parent of like 16 children. When she died, all the children were there. Foster. She only adopted one. She fostered 16 throughout the years. She fostered because they would come and go. It was kind of weird too. My mom was a foster mom, and I have an adopted brother from her fostering. And so I knew I wanted to foster, I had already had a child, so I knew I wanted to foster. I knew I wanted to give back. And I went through all the training. And who took the place? My sister Tony. My sister Tony. Just as I was ready to, finish the training and make the announcement to CPS, that I had an apartment prepared for inspection to come look at. I remember one thought that I had though, right? Here's how I could have stopped myself, because I remember one thought that I had. And the thought was, hold on. Looking good, John. Good morning. How are you? You look good. John's going to church. And I love a man in a crisp, clean shirt. Oh, in any case, I remember one thought that I had. And the one thought that I had was, if I took on a foster child, I could never move. And I have this thing about being stuck in a particular place. And so the thought was there, right? And I was like, oh no, I could never move. Because I didn't want to adopt any child. I wanted to foster children. And I was like, oh, what is that? What does that mean? And then sure enough, my sister calls me. And my sister says, can I come be with you? And I'm in a 2-bedroom apartment. And I said to her, you don't even know where I am. And she basically said, yeah, I don't care. Wherever you are is where I need to be. No, she used to call me, there's two of us. So there's a sister in New York and a sister in California. So she called and she said, can I come to California? And I said, you don't even know where California is. And Tony goes in and out of like mental clarity. And she goes, wherever you are. And I realized all she was saying was, get me the hell out of where I'm at. And so I said, Tony, come on now. If I do this, it's going to happen. Because I knew God. By this time, I knew who I was, right? I wasn't 20. I was grown ass. My son was grown. I was like 40-ish or something. And I was like, Tony, my God, if I do this, it's going to go down. It's going to happen. And she said, I want to come live with you. So Angela says the doctors try to mind trick Black women into not having children by getting them to believe on a subconscious level, yes, that they can't. Hi, Purple Passion. Hi, Incognito. Angela says, although I'm not a fan of him, I've seen Elon Musk use mudras when being interviewed and doing public speaking. Exactly. All right. Once again, I'm just going to brag about today's mentoring class beginning at 3 p.m. Email me at tracybrownlive@gmail.com. Let me just pause a minute to see if what happened. Let me just pause a minute. Let me just check my emails. Okay, good. All right, I'm in the clear. Um, all right, let's remove this. We are going on to the next chapter, which is expelling negative spirits. Huh. Expelling negative spirits. All right, let me play a little music while I go to the. What time is it? Oh, good. We still got time. All right, everyone. I am back, and we are on the next chapter of Company of Prophets, chapter 6, expelling negative spirits. They, okay, let me see, where are we? Are we good? Yes. Oh, wait, let me take this down. Okay. That they were to wait was all that could be remembered by most of the tenets of human edifice. This one was a black woman's body. Any of these spirits' occupants could will itself over a short distance beyond the body's aura. But a journey was never long before the entity was impelled to return. Not bounded to the body, but to each other, soul to soul, in secrecy and mystery so deep they had simply forgotten how they had become a compulsive congregation of spiritual beings moving from one incarnation to another, attached to each other as if they were one. Well, this is starting off very scary, but it must be talked about negative energy because most of us are sleeping with negative energies. Seriously. Most of y'all that lay down way too quickly don't seem to understand that what you are doing is literally sleeping with a negative entity. The person looks human, I understand that, but has taken on a negative um, um, entity. And what you don't know about these negative entities is that their job is to get more negative energy, right? They bottom feed, offer the weakest. So sometimes you think, and a lot of people do this, men and women, you think you're getting something because they look like they are good people, but inside an entity could be attached. And so at some point, you, the person, begin to see that there's something wrong, but the entity has taught you that you are in love. The entity will do anything to convince you that you cannot release this person, that you must be with this person, that it's mandated. And so you will spend years with someone because what the entity really needs is you too, right? It needs to attach on to as many bodies as it can. The entity does. And so the entity needs one person, but cannot thrive unless there's another person, right? So if someone has an entity attached to them and it's just them, you'll see them be like little weird hermits, like little weird people out there in the street, right? And you could be like, definitely an entity attached, right? And you won't go near that person, right? Because something tells you in your deep core that standing too close to that person, something could jump off, right? But the lover boy or the sexy girl can also have an entity, but the entity is a trickster. And the entity does not want to live alone, it wants to thrive together with someone. And then you, whoever you are, you get caught out there. And sometimes the entity, once you wake up that there's a problem in your partner, then the entity will make you feel inadequate, will make you feel crazy. The entity will do anything it wants and can to stop you from separating from the person that they're attached to. It's almost like you can't leave. Now, some people are diagnosed with mental illness, right? But there's a fine line between being in a psychic realm and in a mental health realm, right? I think it's important to acknowledge that sometimes we can sleep with people and the entity gets in. And that's where depression comes in, right? That's where I feel like I'm crazy. Nobody understands me. Like, We are spreading ourselves so thin. I'll bring up Houston as an example, but Houston is a physical manifestation of spreading yourself too thin. The HIV crisis in Houston, right? 17,000 people in Houston wound up with HIV. Imagine if it wasn't HIV. Imagine if it was 17,000 people where an evil spirit was running through Houston by way of sex. Or is it the same thing? Does it matter if it's HIV or an evil spirit? What if that is the same thing? One is more better identified. We can respect HIV. People don't respect that an evil spirit can go from body to body. And that means you really have to assess who's affecting you. If someone affects your mental health, you have to remove yourself. You have to get away. If someone affects your mental health for the worse, if you're crying, and if you're saying things like, I love, but he talks to me this way. I love him, but he never brings food in the house. He never pays rent. Then you might be sleeping with an entity who needs you. Maybe the human doesn't even know, but there's something in between that knows, and that is spiritual. So all spirituality is not good spirituality. And you have to know the difference. And if you don't know the difference, it's by way of your feelings. If your feelings are not loving and warm and fun and gregarious and entertaining with someone, you are not in a perfect match. And you cannot say, I'm in love, because you're most likely in love with an entity. True story. So, there you have it. All right, let me go back to this book. You know I love to lecture, guys. Oh, my eyes. All right. Any of these spirit occupants could will itself over a short distance beyond the body's aura. But a journey was never long before the entity was impelled to return, bonded to the body, but to each other, soul to soul, in secrecy and mystery so deep that they had simply forgotten how they had become a compulsive congregation of spiritual beings moving from one incarnation to another, attached to each other as if they were one. Each time they incarnate, it was much like bees in setting up a new hive. One, it was always the same spirit, would take a position around the head and eyes. It moved in a freer manner, floating in and out around the body, radiating its presence. When it communicated with the other spirits telepathic, through telepathy, as they all did, what it said was taken as command because the energy flowed stronger. Amnesia covered them all except for the highest sentiment spirit. but even it was not complete or near perfect in its knowing. It only partly comprehended its own identity and half knew a vagueness of the secret which kept it bound to other spirits. But sentiment it was indeed in a company of the insensible, the half awakened, the lethargic. Although spiritual beings embodied and disembodied when in positive energy states are naturally inclined to be a friendly disposition and helpful towards other spiritual beings. The endowments of spiritual beings include qualities such as flowingness, lightness, illumination, harmony, and potentials of certainty, complete awareness, and total understanding. Inversely, a spiritual being can become blocked from its natural state of spirit brotherhood by conflict and various forms of negative energy characterized by disagreement, misconception, and misinterpretation that lie for ages unresolved. The records and the images of discontent times accumulate in the individual space in the form of harmful energy. Over the ages, such as a spirit's boundaries become thickened, clouded, and constricted. Spiritual beings naturally abstain from creating confusion, contention, and destruction. But a being unable to repair these negative conditions may be moved to act out the negative energy in its space in deeds of hostility and harm toward other spiritual beings. When an entity performs more negative actions than positive ones, it is on a path of devolvement. So that's really important to understand. When someone, she's calling spirits spirits, but let's turn it around to humans. When a human being performs more negative actions than positive ones, it's on a path of devolvement. At any point when negativity is the dominant creation of a being, that spirit for the time is a negative spirit or a negative person. Like, I went out on a date with someone who I believe was negative, but, and so God wouldn't make me forget, God made me fall. Like, I asked God, I was like, why'd you make me fall? You didn't answer me. And then I realized He didn't want me to forget the moment that I was talking to someone who spirit was unhealthy for where God was taking me. And although I knew it, I did know it, but I was eating a really good pizza. So, pizza first and then end the date. And God was like, it's not how I trained you. I trained you to get up and leave. I could have just taken the pizza with me. I don't know why I didn't get up and leave. And I didn't leave right away. We did resolve his negative tone, at least to end the date, you know. And then I fell flat on my face. And I knew it was God. I was like, why would you do that? I didn't get an answer, but later on I figured out that I was always supposed to remember that moment. I was never allowed to forget that I sat with the devil. And I was like, oh, all right, I hear you. And I know it's God saying, I don't want you to be that desperate. I don't want you to settle. And I know, I hear you, God. Like, I get it. You don't want me to settle. I don't want to settle. But God damn it, there's no good quality men out there. How about that? How about send me somebody that is a great guy, right? I don't want like this, that, and the third. I don't want a married man. God damn it. They all like eyes on me. Like, stop, right? Like, married men be blind to me. I do not exist, right? And a quality man. Like, why is that so hard to find? A quality. Oh, I'm going off on a tangent again. In any case, God is saying to me, yeah, you don't do this because I know what's out there, right? That's what God is saying. I know what's out there. And being a spiritual person, you are going to meet up with things and beings. You will. And I know this, God. I know. I hear you. Let me see what somebody has to say. Oh, no. Oh, no. Infinite, did you bring a sun visor or something? Lord have mercy. Look at it another way. Enjoy the strike so that you all can get what you want. So enjoy the strike, sweetie. But thank you for listening. I love that you're on strike and listening. All right, back to the book. The majority of earthbound spirits are not negative entities, but a negative minority does exist among them. Some of the circumstances which keep disembodied beings in the physical realm are excessive desire for sensation, continued desire to own material things, disorientation, lack of knowledge, unresolved matters from recent lifetimes. I'm going to add this: sex. It has been said that negativity can only be expressed in the physical realm and in a few levels of the astral realm, that no spiritual being can engage in negativity can locate above the vibrational levels because of the entity's denseness. This chapter describes psychics who are skilled in dispelling the presence and the influences of disembodied negative spirits that are harassing, influencing, obsessing, positively directed human beings. All right, so be interesting to hopefully this section will teach people and make us stronger to deal with negative energies. And let's take a look. And by the way, a negative energy could be at work too. You ain't got to sleep with these people, right? Um, Negative energies, I don't know if this is you, but if you can become aware, negative energies are hoarders, right? That means a negative spirit got in and doesn't allow you to be your vibrant human self. And it shows up in a form of hoarding. Moving on. Hayward Coleman, a Southern California Mimi who incorporates yoga into his performances, shares an experience he underwent as part of his spiritual development. At one point, his etheric body was invaded by a lower astral being. This entity, for a while, deceived Hayward by pretending to be his spiritual teacher. What? So I found myself going to the bars and drinking wine, which I never do. So notice what he said. He started drinking, going to bars, right? Like, that's not my character either. If you find me at a bar, it ain't me, right? because I don't identify with bars and drinking. When I worked at the hotel, my boss, I had to tell her, I said, you can assign me anywhere, but you cannot assign me at the bar. The next thing she did was assign me at the bar. And I was done. Because there's a reason why I don't want to be at the bar, which I think I told her, right? I know that the bar incorporates negative souls. They argue, they scream, they yell, they smell. There's a smell at the bar. There's a smell with people that drink too much, right? I don't know if you guys know that smell, but there's a smell, right? And just like when I go in the hospitals, I know dead people because the smell is pervading hospitals. I don't care how clean the hospital is, I can smell death, right? And so I said to my boss, I said, put me anywhere, do not put me at the bar. By saying that, she put me at the bar in a trickery kind of way. It was like, oh, I have nobody. So can you come at 7:45 because I had nobody? But if I come at 7:45, you start out at the bar. I cannot be near the bar. I can't. I know spirits live at bars, right? If that makes any sense to anybody. Have you ever had a drunken parent? Right? That's not pretty when that drunken parent comes home. It's like, oh, dad's home. Oh, mom is drinking 3 o'clock in the afternoon. It's not pretty. So imagine an open place to be not pretty. Screaming, yelling, smelly, anything's an argument. Like, and you just look at these people like, are you guys seriously arguing about this? But you can't say nothing because it's real to them. And the company is trying to sell a drink. So I'm not there for, the moral compass of a bunch of drunks, right? So I got to be quiet and listen to a bunch of drunks scream across each other. And I'm in the middle of this venom or this spiritual negative energy. No, no. And then she did it one time too many. And I was like, I said, God help me. And God was like, oh, that's easy. You won't have your car for 2 months. And sure enough, he took my car down for 2 months. Yep. So I found myself going to bars and drinking wine, which I never do. So here I am drinking wine, and I begin to suspect this voice. Then the voice confessed and said he was a soldier in the French army and was killed. He just wanted to be my friend, but he always needed to drink some wine. And by using my body, he would be able to drink and enjoy the wine. So, see, somebody got in, which normally he doesn't drink, but somebody got in, and now he's drinking this wine. You see, when people die, it doesn't make any difference. Nothing is eliminated. They still have the same desires, the same cravings. In Buddhism, they teach you to eliminate the desires and the cravings in this life so that you could be a greater being and go on to greater levels of states of consciousness in the next. A lot of the beings who pass on still have the same desires to smoke a cigar or whatever. They find vehicles, humans, to realize this. And I had become one of those vehicles unknowingly. Once I became cognizant of that fact, the entity did leave. Hayward recognizes This was something I had to go through. It was like an initiation period to be able to understand all the different astral levels. I spoke to someone recently, my neighbor's son, and he was telling me how when COVID hit, it took him to a different place. I'm not going to tell all his business. What he didn't realize is that COVID was all about death, right? That means so many souls had died at once too soon. And so many souls were looking someplace to land, like didn't want to go into heaven, like I need to land inside someone, right? And so he said he started doing something, and it was so apropos for the crisis, the 2020 COVID crisis. And where do the spirits go? Especially, remember, millions and millions and millions of confused spirits. What do you mean I had a cold and I am not here? I had a cold. Do you understand? And so he started doing something, and I was like, yeah, that's spiritual energy, right? Like being left so exposed. And he's a highly spiritual being, but still the moment of 2020 left him so exposed that there's possible that something got in. I remember 2020, and I remember being in total shock. Like my body went into shock when they said lockdown. I just went into shock. And I remember just like kind of sitting on my sofa looking at the news for hours trying to understand what a lockdown meant, what it meant for me in California, like what does this mean? I felt alone because my son and his wife had already relocated to Seattle, and they had each other. And so I remember the only thing I wanted to do, we were allowed to go shopping. So I took my assistant and his wife shopping. And I took one of my son's friends at the time shopping. And that was the only activity we could do. And I said to them, fill up your cart. It doesn't matter the price. If you want it, fill it. Now, I was never able to do that again. But I said, fill up your cart. Because I wanted them to be comfortable in 2020. And I didn't want them to have that spiritual energy to get in, the spiritual energy of fear, and then the spirit gets in. So I figured, maybe I was wrong, I don't know, but I figured if I fed them, they would be willing to stay inside and get through this crisis that we were in, right? And then I went back home and I hibernated. I did readings. I helped so many people during the 2020 crisis. I did readings, personal readings, video readings. I just decided to use the energy so that the spirits that were roaming the earth like couldn't get inside me, because I wasn't going to let the initial fear of shock incorporate my spirit so that something could get in. No, I worked through it. I figured out a way to give back, right? And negative spirits don't want to give back. They want to eat your soul alive, make you a hermit, make you a hoarder. And I wasn't going to let any spiritual being that was running, and there were millions of them, like my soul, they bypassed. I was like, And the way that I did that was to keep spiritually working. All right. So I found myself going to bars and drinking wine, which I never do. Then the voice confessed and said he was a soldier in the French army and he was killed. He just wanted to be my friend, but he always needed to drink some wine, and by using my body, he would be able to drink and enjoy the wine. You see, when people die, it doesn't make any difference. Nothing's eliminated. They still have the same desires, same cravings. In Buddhism, they teach you to eliminate the desires and the cravings in this life so that you could be a greater being and go on to greater levels and states of consciousness in your next life. A lot of the beings who passed on still have the same desires to smoke a cigar or whatever. They find vehicles, humans, to realize this and have become one of those vehicles unknowingly. Once I became cognizant of that fact, the entity did leave. Hayward recognizes this was something I had to go through. It was an initiation period to be able to understand all the different astral levels. Yeah, yeah. All right. Hi, Angelic Bright. How are you? Hi, Colton. How are you? All right. Next. I went to a house not long ago where pictures were falling off the wall, dishes off the kitchen table, when no one was anywhere near. It was obviously some form of spirit which had been let loose by some hostile member of the house. When people have strong negative feelings they can't express, ghosts appear, remarked Henry Ruck of Chicago, who founded the Psychic Research Foundation in the city in 1969. He told a reporter from Modern People that he had gone to too many houses to remove ghosts. He visited the home with mysterious occurrences to find that recently the parents had sent an older son away from the house to military school. The younger brother felt abandoned and as a result was releasing these evil forces through a ghost. Ghosts are always activated by some person who has a lot of negative feelings and doesn't know what to do with them. Did any of you guys know that? I can't say I've encountered ghosts. Um, but did anybody know that ghosts appear because of negative feelings? Hmm, I learned. Once I was able to talk with the boy, Ruckus said things were okay and dishes stopped flying off the table. In an article in Sepia magazine, Ruckus described one of his ghost breaking activities, which occurred in California. At the request of a woman whose home was under an attack by earthbound entities, she traveled from Chicago to Los Angeles. The besiegement had terrified the divorced woman, her 14-year-old daughter, 11-year-old son, and two other relatives. The ghosts' deeds observed by Rucker included smashing objects against walls from considerable distances, dislodging pictures from walls with such force they would break on the floor, and create the house gust of wind which blew the drapes wildly about. Rucker explained how the situation was created and resolved. What you must understand about ghost breaking is that individuals in the house itself are often their ghost's power source. In this case, I discovered it was the 11-year-old boy who was intensely hostile about his parents' divorce and was activating these spirits. I was able to disperse the negative forces in the house by dealing with the boy's own negative feelings. He had been having dreams, for example, that he was not a Negro but a Japanese and also an Indian witch doctor. When he told his mother this, he was met with more resistance. But when he told me, it was a different story. I had seen some evidence of reincarnation, and what this boy was calling up might have been past lives, which he had these powers. We talked, and he recognized me from one of his past lives. We got along fine, and the boy's hostility abated, and with it, the spirits dispersed. Henry Rucker teaches classes in self awareness development and psychic sciences. He had lectured and given classes and workshops throughout the United States at colleges, corporate organizations, and conventions. He travels abroad to do healings and lecturing. For Rucker, psychic abilities are not inherited traits. but they are. However, he recognized the characteristics of a healer in his oldest son. On occasion, when he was young, his son, who can perceive deceased persons, would accompany Rucker on ghost hunting rounds. As a team, they worked to rid the houses of negative forces. Sometimes the child performed exorcisms without assistance. Rucker considers this son, now an adult, to possess the same quality and range of psychic talent that he has. And that's because psychic abilities are inherited. Whether they are developed within the home is two different things. But everyone has this ability, and some families have stronger abilities to create events from the metaphysical world. All right, I am done. Any questions, guys? Anything anybody needs to know? Thank you for participating in today's session. The Expelling of Negative Spirit chapter is going to be very interesting. So, buckle up, Buttercup. It is something that you do need to look at and invest in and know these things are real, whether we want to acknowledge them or not. Everything's not all angelic and, butterflies, right? Sometimes an evil attachment comes along to take you out of pocket. Sometimes we have to acknowledge that evil force so that we can get back on track and make healthy decisions again. Hi, Sylvester. How are you? How are you doing today? So, if anybody would like a reading today, I am working, and that's the first thing. So, oh, say, so book a reading with me. All right, book a reading with me. And if anybody is interested in today's session with Jason to participate in the spiritual mentoring course, please email me at tracybrownlive@gmail.com. It starts today at 3 p.m. Eastern. And I actually can't wait to start it today. I am so excited about this course. I am so excited. I'm so proud of Jason um, and I um, for doing this. Okay, I'm over myself. So, book a reading, 213-458-7408. Email me if you want to participate in the spiritual mentoring class. All right. Um, I want to thank everyone for putting up with us on Friday. For Thank God It's Intuition Friday. So, so funny. So good. Thank you guys. It was 3 hours long. It will never be 3 hours long ever again. Right? This is Thank God It's Intuition Friday. Don't you just love that? I love that. Okay. Thank you, everyone. Okay. Angela, email me. Um, but also like and follow and share. And um, if you're watching the video right now, like it because you're going to forget to like it. All right. Thank you all. I appreciate you. Have a good Sunday. I might come on in about an hour to do a reading, but no promises, but I feel like I want to. All right. Love you. Take it easy. Bye.
Gals and guys, go to Tracy Brown Live. Go to Tracy Brown Live. Go to Tracy Brown Live. Gals and guys, go to Tracy Brown Live. Go to Tracy Brown Live. Go to Tracy Brown Live. Gals and guys, go to Tracy Brown Live. Go to Tracy Brown Live. Go to Tracy Brown Live. Gals and guys, go to Tracy Brown Live. Go to Tracy Brown Live.